Hello and welcome to a new episode of Remote Pair Programming. Today is the last episode, we hope, of Test to Tell a Story. We are towards the end, so what do we want to do today?
Hello. So to finish this, we will work on statement printing and probably, if we have enough time, statement filtering. We will focus on what kind of tests we need to write, and it should be quite interesting.
Okay, so let's see where we are at.
So last time we had we made some work on implementing a transaction logger, which will log every transaction that is performed on an account. And today, from that, we should be able to extract some logs and print them. We
Yeah,
had a few tests on this, and this one shows how from an account we can deposit and withdraw different amounts of money, and then we can retrieve all the logs of the different operations that were made on this account.
this test is a bit bigger, but in a way it shows what you're doing. I think I wouldn't change it. Would you do anything about it?
No, I mean, we talked last time about whether we wanted to keep this or not. Let's keep it. It shows how we can use this in a complex way, and it will probably never fail uh, because, well, I guess if it fails, it means that some of the previous tests we wrote are failing, and fixing them should automatically fix this one. So this is more like something that documents all the, the account and the work together.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so let's try the next test, right?
Yes. And today it will be about statement printing. So let's start with a very simple test. Maybe before we go deep into this, we can just have like a quick talk about what exactly is statement printing and uh, what uh, what is exactly this feature that we're trying to implement.
Yes, statement printing as defined in the specs was that you want to have a list of your transactions with either credit or debit, and the order was that the last transaction should be first in the statement print, and typically it's for a period. You don't have a statement for since ever. You have for the last week, the last day, the last month, the last 2 weeks, and so on, the last year maybe.
Okay. So maybe we can start with printing statement of the day, and during this day we maybe have made like one withdrawal or one deposit. Start with this.
Yeah,
Probably it will be simpler to start with a simple deposit.
exactly.
So what could we tell? It would be something like on a deposit, some money account statement of the day shows this operation. Yeah, I'm okay to start with this thing, and we'll see later if we want to change this. So here, before I write anything, we have many choices to do. Let's start with the when. We are going to print something, and we want to test it.
Mm-hmm.
So we have many ways to do this.
Would you go for more for a state test? So just taking the output, or what we could do is have an interface that's a printer and implement another printer and take the data from there. We could use a mock, but we don't want to do that. It's possible, but I wouldn't do that.
Yes. Okay, so today I'd like to try something. I don't usually do that, I think. Well, anyway, maybe we can just say that right now we don't want to think too much about what an interface would be for a printer,
Mm-hmm.
because well, it's already, well, we don't have a concrete case where we can learn from and then design our printer. So
Yeah.
maybe we just expect something
Mm-hmm.
to be printed in the console, and we test against the console, and then we'll refactor this
Okay.
to make the printer interface appear. And
So we use the console. Okay, that's great.
um, so we know that's not what we want in the end. That's not the design, because we don't want to have too much cohesion between coupling, sorry, between our code and
Mm-hmm.
a dedicated printer that prints to the console. But sometimes it's a good way to start things.
Yeah,
And
sure. And I think it's simpler in a way, and it brings you less decisions up front that you might regret if you take them too soon.
so right now, maybe I will have an account and I want to print statements of the day. Something like this. I'm pretty sure we won't keep it this way, but
Yeah, we need to start from somewhere.
so let's have an account. Let's deposit some money on it. Let's print the statement, and how do we capture? So here we have ways to capture the console output.
I don't know in Kotlin how to do that. Never done it.
It's the same than in Java, and it's not very complicated.
With the
Uh,
memory stream.
I think that you can do something like this. Yes, you
Yes.
can
Set
define
out, and you put a
groups.
print stream, and
Yes.
then you make a memory stream that. Yeah,
A memory stream.
I think I think printer is an interface, and then memory stream is implementation of the, or it was something like that. It's not that complicated, but again, streams in Java. Accidental complexity.
So the idea would be, because I wanted to see what kind of concrete type we have for the print stream. So actually, we could create one, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's an option as well.
So since I don't know at all how this works, let's write maybe a test to learn how we can capture just simple things that we print. Just command this thing.
Oh yeah, byte output stream. Yes, exactly. And that's a memory stream, because I don't know if you can.
If I can do what?
If you the byte output stream is that what type is that? That's an abstract class, or is that's just a class?
That's a concrete class, and
Okay.
it is, I don't know.
Okay. Then that means it's simpler than in Java.
It's an output string.
After the print line, you need to I think you need to flush. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Let's try without, and if it doesn't work, we will.
Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to check if I can write several lines this way?
Yeah, because that means you need to test with \n, I think.
Can try this.
Yeah.
Missed one.
Okay.
So let's use this technique to capture the outputs. And also, we should probably, to avoid some nasty side effects, uh, save the original out of the system because it's something that is static and we want to avoid side effects from this test.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Test.
I think that I think we can do is to take line by line. I mean, it depends on how many lines we need here from the console, because if we have many lines in the console, it will be difficult to manage this testing like that. So I think you can take just one line at a time, but we'll see if we need to do that.
Okay, so let's go back to our test and I'm going to move this into a before. That would be a setup.
And we do that because before you call the console, you need to tell that this is the stream that you need to go to. Otherwise, you won't capture the console.
Let's do something like this.
Is late init a kind of a lazy?
Yes, exactly. That's like right now it's null, but I promise that when you call it, it won't be.
Yeah.
You can break the promise and then your code just explodes. But okay, and so like I was saying, maybe we can do after each. That would put back the system out the way it was before.
Yeah.
So
that's in order to avoid side effects if you use the console with something else, or maybe in another test.
I have not yet mastered every refactoring in Kotlin, but I think that they still have work to do to make it really easy to use. What kind of type is this thing?
It's a print stream.
So now maybe just to make sure that this thing is working, I can actually check that this test is still working. And if it is, then we can really implement our test.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's remove this thing. And so we would like that.
So the printer needs to have a header and a line.
So we want that what we captured from our input is something like, so we'll have our header, and maybe we can go back to some previous tests we worked, because I think that it's a standard header that we already.
Yes, yes.
I think that this is something like, yes, like this. Oh no. Actually, we talked about this, but I don't know if we ever wrote it.
Let me go back to the requirements. As far as I remember was wait. So I have date, credit, debit, and balance. And balance. So if I am depositing something, it should be a debit. So
yes, and
I'm putting. Sorry.
What would be the date?
Today, or the date that we inject to the account. So yeah, we need to inject the date, right? Otherwise,
Yes.
tomorrow our test won't run anymore.
Yes. And we are the default transaction logger actually, which probably was date, which is not what we want. Okay. So let's pick a date. I'm just going to get to some other test. I don't remember what will be the format of the date, but let's say that would be something like this. That was not 0, that would be 30. And the balance is the balance after the operation.
Yes.
Okay. So that should be something like this, I think. Let's implement the method. And yeah, let's do nothing.
I hope it will compile, but it will just be read.
It should. Okay.
To be equal to. Yeah.
So how do you want to implement this thing?
So let's see. What is it doing? It should take some information from the account, right? Oh, I think we've done this previously, right? We had the list, so we should have an object with a transaction.
Yes, we have this thing called here. And the transaction logger.
Exactly.
Padlocked, but we never did anything around formatting or printing.
Yeah,
Just,
so I think we could do that here. I don't know how
yes,
about what you think, but I think it would make sense to be here.
yes. So maybe here I add this method on account. Do you want to keep this way, or do we move it to the transaction logger?
I think it's maybe to the transaction logger, because the account knows what it knows and it shouldn't know more than that. And the transaction logger has the log, so
Yes. Okay. I completely agree with this. And because the transaction logger is injected into the account, we can still keep this interface and just delegate to the transaction logger.
yeah.
So my question is more, uh, when writing this test, do we want to write account or transaction logger?
I would write transaction logger.
Okay, so you would like to have something like this.
And we use the real transaction logger where we give the date. Yes, don't use now because
Yeah. So you would like to have something like this. Okay. I'm just going to go to the account.
delete the on. Yeah.
Don't need this anymore. Okay, I can run the test again. It should fail again for the very same reason than before, and then we can implement this. So any idea of how you want to implement this?
I would take from the logger. The logger had an object with logs, right? With the transactions.
Yes. So
So
we have
I
this
would.
all logs thing here, which has all the records.
Yeah, and I would choose the transactions. So filter just transactions and show the transactions from the log. Oh yeah.
So you only want transactions.
Yes.
With the header. So I'm just going to write header here. Change this. And so here we have to implement something that takes previous string and the record, which should be a transaction, by the way, since I filtered them all. Um, okay, so let's do it this way. And here we just want to add this. I'm going to write this thing. This is not at all what we want, but let's start with this. I'm going to take the header here. This way and run the test and see what it does. Because this is a big step right now.
Expecting.
So we need to put this into the statement to print.
Didn't we put the expect and the actual in the other way? Because it's expecting an empty string, which is weird.
So it says expecting this to be equal to. It's just the way they
Okay.
say that is.
Okay. All
Okay,
right.
so we can see the difference here. We are on the same line, and also
Yeah.
we don't have the correct information, the correct format.
It's still a good step.
Yes. I think that we already did this transformation, but I don't remember where.
I think it was also in a log, in a test about the log. Yeah, I don't know either. I don't remember.
Because this sounds familiar to me. I mean, I think that we already did this, but oh yes. So we did in the account statement. We have a print transaction.
There we go. So we already have the account statement, and we have
Yes.
this and it's to string. Yeah, and maybe that's not such a good idea to put this into the account statement.
Yes, we probably want to move this. But right now I'm not really comfortable with moving anything.
Yeah, we could copy it.
So yeah, let's do this. Actually, it could be a static method. I'm going to need these things. So we add a format date. Debit and a credit method. Okay. Well, actually, I'm going to need everything. So let's just not.
So the whole class is doing something. Maybe we should just use it.
Yeah. Well, so would you rather copy or use it? Because it's very easy to use it.
Yeah, I would use it. Probably the name is wrong, but I would use it definitely.
So that would be account statement. Why is it not working? Okay, so I don't know where this class is. Oh, it's in the test. Yeah, that's why.
Okay, that's weird.
Probably we created it and didn't move it. Why we should have. And then we want to print the transaction. Yes, I'm going to adjust this thing right now. Then we'll see if we can do something better. I'm not very comfortable with the fact that we are taking a long time to make this test pass. And yes, of course, I missed.
There's a new line there.
And then we will probably have to change this code because I don't think that it will really work if we have several transactions. So what is the difference? Yes, as usual, I mixed credit and debit. So here in my test, I need this to be like this. Okay.
Yay.
So, oh yes, nice.
So it knows it's a transaction. You don't need to cast it.
Okay. What do we want to do next?
Well, we're done. We can stop now. We printed the transaction. I think we can start. What I would test, because we still want to talk about tell a story. I would test more transaction 2 and then 4, 5, 6, or something like 2 and 6 or something like that. With 2, I would test that they are ordered right. With more, I would test that they are ordered right even when you have more. And I would write another test showing that only the transactions are shown and not the other ones, the where what we call them somehow, where you had errors, so like where you couldn't take money out of the account because you didn't have enough money.
Okay. Yes, let's do that. And also just to share, because I have this in my mind and I need to share it. Right now, in this implementation, it's going to be quite hard to extract a printer because we have things that are linked to printing here and also probably here.
Mm-hmm.
And this is like if you don't want to print something on the output, or if we want to print it differently, probably we don't want this to be here or this way.
Yeah.
So we'll have some work to do here.
Well,
This
that
cannot.
means that the backslash n means your new line. So I think we should have something like a new line. So we should the same how you say console print line. We should have something like statement add line. So I would like to do something like statement add header, statement add line, and give it the transaction, I guess.
Yes, I was thinking actually that we could take this list of records, filter it to a list of transaction, and map it to a list of string that are literal representation of every transaction, and then just hand them to the printer, and maybe just also add the header and give all these strings to the printer and let him do the printing job.
Okay, yeah, let's try to do that. That's more exotic for me, so
Okay.
let's try to see that.
Maybe first let's write the test for 2 cases and 6 cases,
Mm-hmm.
and then we'll just do the refactoring.
Yeah.
Okay. What would be the story about this test?
It's the same thing but with 2, so I can deposit. I can make 2 deposits with some money, but in this case, the statement of the day shows this operation. No, so let's do 2 days. So I can deposit, make 2 deposits on my account. The statement of the day shows these operations with the last transaction at the top. Yep.
Okay, So that's going to be something very similar to our previous test.
Put another.
That should be something like this.
Yes.
Okay, it's failing, which is expected. Let's reverse this list first.
Great.
Okay. Let's just make it a bit more readable. Okay. Now let's do this for 6, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Let's have some withdrawal.
Now, can we have more dates when we do 6?
No, we can't
Mm-hmm.
yet.
Because that would be a thing to test.
Yes, probably.
Otherwise, there is no difference in between these two tests. Only that you have 6 and not 2.
And also we just have deposit and not withdrawal of money.
Okay, so then let's do, yeah, that would make sense. So let's do a deposit and a withdrawal. So there are more tests. I make
so something like this. And now I have to think about what I'm going to write.
yeah, we need to start making computations.
Yes.
You start from the bottom. You have 30, you deposit, you withdraw 10, so you put 10 there, and then you have 20. And then you have 20. Then you put 200. And then you have 220. You withdraw, so you put 40 there. And then you have 260. Hopefully, oh no, you withdraw, sorry, yeah, 180. Yes, hopefully we're good at math.
And if this is working, then we can write test about errors like you were suggesting earlier.
Yeah, we're good, it's working.
Let's just check that.
Yeah.
We are not testing nothing.
So sometimes it's good to have a green test like that. I think we had one last time as well.
Okay. So let's try to withdraw more. 100 and withdraw 10.
So this will fail at the second.
When an operation fails, it does not show
Statement.
Okay.
So it should be just 30, just oh, delete 102 as well. Oh no, you can. Okay, yeah, right. Yeah.
Is that okay for you?
Yeah, you're right.
And actually, because we already made the filtering, it should be working. So I think that when we implemented the print statement here, we made too many fits. Like we already knew where we were going, but
Yes, because we already had that class, the statement, the count statement. And that's the reason. We wrote tests on that.
yes.
That's what I'm saying, that sometimes when you start putting things together, these tests sometimes are green from the beginning.
Okay, I see.
And these aren't that much unit tests, but are at a bit of higher level. What we're doing now, we're not really testing just a unit. We're testing more units together, and that's why they go green.
Yes, I see. So
only the other test I would write is having a statement on multiple days, and
okay,
and checking that they are ordered with the from the date. So the last one is the first
yeah,
from the
I see.
point of view of the date.
So to do this, we will have to make changes to the transaction logger,
Yeah.
and I don't know if we can easily do this.
Well, you can create a method that would change the local date.
Okay, do you want to do this?
Yeah, so you could do something like set date.
Okay. So maybe we just write a test here in
Yeah.
this
Mm-hmm.
class. Here we want to implement this set date thing. So actually, that would no longer be my daily statement.
Yes, it's a, I don't know, multi-day statement.
Okay, what would be a good test name for this?
Oh, it's a bit the same like the one at the top. When yes, when it's not just deposit. When I make several deposits, the statements appear with the yes, appear in the order. I don't know how to call it, to say that. Appear with the last day at the top, something like that.
Yeah, that's the most recent one.
Most recent, yeah.
So we want to set date before each operation. Maybe you want to do something like this.
Yeah, and in this way we simulate that the days pass. This is the main reason. Normally the program would just ask what's the current date, and it will get the local date. But this is just for testing.
Uh, 50. See, 50. Something like this. And
It's
no,
22, I think, not 21 or 125,
yes,
the date.
let's make this compile. Okay, so I can do something like this. If I change this, maybe we can do this. Back to our test. We can and then, and this one actually is going to pass because we are reversing the list, and I made the operations in the correct order. But now,
Yeah.
if we just, let's say, change these two lines, I think here, it should fail.
Yeah, but in a way, the transaction logger will have things in the order that they happened. I don't see how that will happen.
So you think that this thing can never happen?
It would be just a defect that would generate this situation, but it
Okay.
wouldn't be a case I would take into account.
Okay. So if so, why bother with this? And even why bother with this rule? Because by default, uh, this test is kind of a duplication of the previous one.
Because we have different dates and there it wasn't obvious in the test, so talking about tests that tell a story, it wasn't obvious that the transactions were in a specific order. If you could please go a bit upper to the previous test, you can see both of them are 18th of March, so they don't tell you the story that they happened in different days, and so that's the reason. If we look in the specs, the example given is with different dates.
Okay, and I understand, and I don't see much difference between the test we wrote and this one.
Yeah, I agree. I think the last one is a lot more expressive because you see the different dates. That's the only thing.
Okay, so should we remove this one?
Yeah, I would say so.
And I don't think. Uh, yes, I have a withdrawal. Okay, so maybe now we can do some refactoring.
Refactoring time. Fun.
Uh, okay, so we said that maybe we want to instead of do this transform the list to a list of string and then to
Yeah, I was thinking that you have this \n, that maybe it works for this particular type of new line, but maybe if you have a different type of printer, it won't. So this is specific to a file, this new line.
yes.
And that's just like the wrong abstraction layer.
Definitely. Um, so that would be something. And we want to map these things using this thing. And then we have our list of strings. We just need to add the header. I don't know if we can do this.
Maybe you can have a list and then of strings, or the statement as a string, and then put the header before it. So concat the. So now you already have the statement as a string, right?
Yeah.
And then you concat the header with the statement as a string and then return it, and then print it. I think it's.
We can do this. Then this we can print.
Yes.
Okay, so I can remove everything here. Oops. And this should still work, I think. No, not at all. Okay. Yes. So
But
that's
what's
interesting.
different?
The difference is that before we had an empty line,
Okay.
and no, we uh, we had not, and now we have, because the
Okay.
last line is a print line, so
Yeah, so you need you do a print line at the end. But why do you do that?
before we were doing a print line for every line except the last one where we were just doing a print.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
now it's
see.
more a question of what do we want to run.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the cleanest thing would be not to have an empty line at the end, but it's not something that awful. I don't know.
Well, we can, but then we will have to. Well, how can we do this?
For each except the last one.
That would not be good.
Yeah. I think it's not you can uh yeah, before printing it, or no, because you do print line. Yeah, you need to add a conditional and ask is if it's the last one from the list.
Okay, let's make it pass and then see how we can.
So I don't know how you do that. It's either length.
Yeah, but then I have to do something like this one.
Okay.
State string and index. I really don't like what I'm writing right now. So that would be something like, and I and also I don't know how many items I have in my list.
Or can't you have a length?
I don't have any reference on my list here.
Okay.
So unless this one can provide it.
That's weird.
No, I can't. Yeah, so since we are doing some ugly stuff, let's just use statement as string. This is completely unreadable.
Yes, but does it work?
Maybe. No.
And yes. Is it the same situation?
Yes, I think. No, it's worse.
Oh.
It would be something like this. So I have to think now.
Greater than equal? What's the index? I don't know how they're sized or how they're.
So index will be between 0 and the size.
So there's a difference of 1 because size
Yes.
starts from 0, from 1, no, 0. Index starts from 0 as well.
So index goes from 0 to this thing, and I hate indexes.
Isn't it greater and equal? Or equal?
But well, I had an equal. I really thought it would be this, but it's not, because when I do this, it's actually doing the print on the wrong line, the line just before.
Yeah, that's weird.
So if I put +1 here,
Okay. Wow, yeah.
it should work. But I really don't want to keep this.
Well,
And
it
now
doesn't.
it doesn't. Because now it does.
Yeah, this is weird. I don't know. So let's go back and just keep the new line in the test. I don't think, I mean, you can solve this nicer, but I don't think it's our purpose now.
So we still have some work to do to extract this printer. No, maybe. Or do you want to do something else before?
It's weird. Well, what I don't like is that you initialize here at 30 the account statement. I would inject that.
Okay, we can do that. And why would we inject this?
Well, you make a new there. The typical and the rule I have is never make a new in a class. If you need it instantiated from the outside, because well, it's dependency inversion.
Okay. So let's just have a look at this class. So here we have a constructor with account that is unused totally, and everything else has to do with well, actually we only have one public method, which is this one.
Yeah.
And it's a pure function. So I would say that at this point maybe we can just make this function static and remove the new, because
Yeah, we can do that.
don't really need this, and we could even get rid of this second statement class and just have a function and use this function.
And toString would need to go away, and there's a test I think that we use there, and that should go away as well.
Let's see if it is used or not.
Oh, is it searching for all toStrings?
Only of this class.
Oh, okay.
I think. I hope. So it might be searching for every toString actually, because 14 usages is not about. Yes. Okay. So yeah,
it's weird.
I probably asked it to. Let's see instead where this is used. So yes, we use it here in this test, but it has very little value because the toString method is just hard-coded. So let's remove this test.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said.
And
I think this one.
but this one is useful.
Sorry?
This one is useful.
Yeah,
And we can remove the toString method anyway, I think.
exactly.
So back to income statement. We can remove this as well. And let's run all the tests to see if this is still working. It should be working. And now we can probably decide if we want to remove this class, make it static, or
Well, it's not doing anything. It doesn't have any state, so I don't know about making it static because yeah, I don't know. I tend to not to make things static.
Mhm.
I prefer having the flexibility to be able to inject something else in instead of it. So that's why I'm not making static, and I prefer to do dependency inversion. This is like a service, so it's a perfect a perfect class with pure functions that are very simple.
Okay, so you want to inject it into the transaction logger, I think.
Yes.
Okay, we have several ways to do this. I would suggest that we have a default argument that by default builds in a constituent, and we can override it if we want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because right now we only have just one, and I don't want to have to change everywhere in my code where I call the transaction logger to have something that is just by default.
Yeah.
And it probably won't change anyway. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I'm not trusting IntelliJ to do this, but maybe. Okay. What else now?
The \n is bugging me,
Mhm.
and the header as well is a text.
Yes, we can at least do something about this. I already have one. I already have one.
Yeah, you have one.
And the \n, how do you want to deal with this?
I think it's duplicated in between production code and test code,
Mhm.
and it's just a new line. I would see it somewhere in the settings where both this production class and the test should take it from.
Okay. Also, we can use the platform one.
Yes.
So this way, it's kind of something that is in configuration.
Yes. Exactly.
And also that's better than doing this. I just don't remember how we access it, but we will find this. Um, yes, system line separator. Let's check the documentation. Yes, that's this thing that we want. And so you said that you would like the test to have this thing too.
Yes.
Okay, so in the test we are using this thing.
Yeah, it's fine. So that, yeah, it's fine. Just don't have \n as a
Yeah.
string.
Okay. Anything else you want to change in this transaction logger?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It looks fairly okay. It's readable. There are short functions. I
Okay.
like it.
Okay. Let's extract the printer now, maybe.
Yes.
So what I would do is extract this into a method.
Mm-hmm.
That would be print statements. And now I would like this to be the printer. Or actually this thing to be the printer. I like to move this to a printer class.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It makes sense.
So I would like to have something like statements printer and this. Are you okay with this? And let's inject this thing here
Mm-hmm.
as a parameter of the print statement of the same method.
Yes. Yes.
So okay, going to revert this thing and start by maybe changing the test here. And I would like to have a solid statement. You know this. Okay, and in my logger, this. Okay, the changes were made for me everywhere. And now back to the logger. Actually, I'm going to name this so I can do this. I'm pretty sure that I can do this differently.
Yeah, I guess so.
But the test should pass, and then I can rename this to just a simple print. Okay. Uh, do we want to have an abstraction of this thing and maybe
Of
introduce custom
the
print?
console statement printer.
Yeah.
Yes, because this is a console, so we could have a statement printer. Yeah, I think that would make sense.
That would be a statements printer, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Use this thing. And maybe now we can change the signature of this thing here. Rename this one to
Mm-hmm.
statement printer. Okay. Anything else you want to do?
I don't think so.
Okay. Then I think that we are done with the statement printing.
Mm-hmm. Looks pretty good.
Okay, great. Um, how about we stop here?
Yeah, okay. So, do we debrief about this and the whole
Yes.
thing?
Yes.
Okay, so we reached the end of this test to tell a story, I guess. How was it today? I think we worked more on tests and finishing everything. We didn't implement that much production code. How was it for you?
It was okay. I like that um, we took time to discuss about duplication of tests or why we write some tests more than others.
Mm-hmm.
We've been doing this now for a few times, so it's quite easy to find names that are okay for both of us.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly we did design work that was not so much tied to test. I think that we, well, I would say that if we want to learn more about this approach, we need more constraints
Mm-hmm.
because it was more like uh, something that is quite easy for us today. We didn't go to some places where we never knew what was going to happen. Um,
So, what do you have in mind? Any constraints about like that? What that you'd like to use?
I was thinking about this. Right now, I don't.
Mm.
But I'm pretty sure that this would allow us to go further. I think that it would be interesting to see how we can maybe uh, have tests that have less or less repetitions of themselves. Like if we look at the test we have here, well, I'm not going to say that it's 5 times the same test, but it's very similar. Like
Because you have more data or more, like with one transaction or two transactions. Is that what you're saying?
yes, and we have different stories, but not really. Actually, we have like the same story, but that is slightly different from each time.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I mean that's okay, but um, I think that the value of spending time on finding good names for tests is not here.
Mm-hmm.
It's more when you're going to explore different ways of seeing the same problem and having different stories that are really, really different from each other. And today we had not this. So I don't know exactly what kind of constraint we could have to enforce this difference and force us to explore different ways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That would be something that I would be really willing to try.
Well, in our test, there is still some duplication. I think we could make them shorter and smaller.
Yes.
It's this decision that you take sometimes if you want to have everything in a test, all the setup, or if you just want to reuse it and make it shorter. But sometimes for some programmers is more difficult to understand. So it's a balance. I don't know. At this moment we left it like that, but we could definitely make it shorter. And I think especially with some frameworks that are typically made for BDD, you could make the big premise, like the given, and then put different whens depending on different thens. So then maybe in that case it will look more like what you wanted to have, like the story?
Mm, I'm not sure, because when we do this, we tend to actually have something that is closer uh, to mathematics than literature.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that we are like having factorization of stuff, and what I would like to have is something that is a bit different. Like, um, do we really have to have this repetition and then use this kind of frameworks, or can we have a different approach that would allow us to have tests that are very different?
So uh, I think the main difference is here that we perform automated checks, and these automated checks, because we make unit, we focus on the unit, are small. That's why we need variation to check them from different points of views. If we'd like to look for the story, probably the story needs to be at the top and use these checks.
Well, it could be, or it's calling to oh yes, maybe that's it. Maybe we could write this test code using, like you said, a higher level DSL,
Yes.
and that would be really I think the thing I want.
That's what I'm thinking, because this is the atomic level, and you never have a story with atomic level. Like when you hear a story or you read a story, you don't the writer won't say something like the color and the shape of each object and the number of degrees and how the weight and the texture of the material and so on. These are the small details, the atomic stuff. But the story is upper, so it says I have a glass, and that's all. It doesn't matter how big it is, what color it has. It is, so it's more abstract, and I think that's what we need to do. But in order to have those stories in software, you still need to have these small tests.
Yes.
But then on a higher level, you either use them to generate or to create the bigger story that's more abstract, or you ignore some of them.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you so much for pairing with me, and as always, until next time, have fun coding.
Thank you very much. Bye.